Tim, Stacey, Abby, and grandchildren. We welcome you here today as we celebrate Gaby and her life. My name is Di, and thank you, Dorothy and Harold. This is a great privilege to be standing here today. Firstly, I'll just mention some some household, where the bathrooms are. If you go out the dining room door, down the steps, there's 2 bathrooms straight ahead. And then if you go through the sitting room, down the steps, there's 2 more bathrooms on the right-hand side there. Rosalind, there's some space up here. If smokers could please go to the end of the building into the carport, that would be helpful. And there's a little pot there for the butts. Thank you. At the end of the celebration, there will be refreshments down in the dining room. And in the sitting room, just off the dining room, there is a book for you to write your stories and memories of Gaby, and also lovely photos of beautiful Gaby and her family there. The family ready to come up and speak? And then there'll be about 10 minutes for others to come and share your stories.
I want to say a poem by Anne Powell, Inside the Quiet. You could learn a lot from sitting, watching God take tea with Buddha in the tent at the top of the world. They keep the flap open, so you can walk inside the quiet and cool, and see the small cups that you thought too tiny for the hand of God, who after all holds the whole world. That's why God needs to rest on a cloud of cushions and contemplate with Buddha the art of letting go.
Now, Gaby's brother Alex has sent from Germany something we would like to add to this.
Nick, Sasha and family, dear friends of Gaby. As many of you know, Gaby had 2 little brothers, Wolfgang and me. We loved her very much from the day we were born. Even though we brothers both live in Germany, we kept close contact. I had the wonderful opportunity to visit Teaute 3 times during the last year, a year that was so characterized by illness, individual strengths, and close family ties and friendship. Also, Wolfgang spent the entire August here and will come again this August. We could not join you today, but our thoughts are with you all. Gaby has been a wonderful sister to us. When I was born, she, the 4-year-old, helped 2-year-old Wolfgang to cope with the loss of attention for him. As we grew up, the three of us played in fantasy worlds of unimaginable beauty. Gaby always had the best ideas to color up these worlds. We canoed down mighty rivers, fought for the rights of the Indians, lived in dark caves, all on the floor of our rooms, just with a few blankets and simple toys around us. As an early teenager, Gaby read a book about Tibet, which heavily influenced our role games. We brothers became Tibetan farmers, planted and harvested rice, and Gaby managed a simple Tibetan kitchen where we were fed rice meals, actually lots of fruits and tiny parts of candy bars, after hard working hours. In fact, Gaby always shared her belongings with us. She had a drawer where she stashed her Christmas or Easter sweets, and we brothers worked through her supplies for weeks after ours were gone. She just let us take them one by one. My room was adjacent to hers, bed separated by a thin wooden wall. We developed a special Morse code and knocked on the wall when already in bed. I really liked this. But she also managed to get questions like, "Did you brush your teeth?" into the secret conversations, which made me get up many times to fulfill my forgotten obligation. Was this the start of her great bookkeeping and educational skills? In our early 20s, the three of us went on a trip together. We drove all the way to Spain, slept out in the open, talked about our lives, a really good time for us. When our father died a few years ago, we again had such quality time amongst the three of us. There was always so much to talk about. How we will miss this. Gaby, you have been a wonderful sister to us. We feel rich for the many special memories we have of you. You have taken great care of so many people. In your final moments, you have allowed others to take good care of you. We thank you, Gaby. We learn from you, and we miss you. My dear Harald, Mummel, Tim, Nick, Sasha and family, dear friends of Gaby, as many of
Yes, thank you, Alex. You have some wonderful words, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Last March, Gaby was diagnosed with lung cancer. It was inoperable, and after we heard the diagnosis, the very first thing when we went out, after we cried for a long time, she said, "I had a good life. I had a very good life." And that set the tone for the next 15 months for us. I met Gaby 36 years ago. You know, by chance I stormed into a graduation party of senior students from my university and kept on going. It was 4 o'clock nighttime, when they normally played waltz to get all the people out of there, you know, the students who didn't want to leave. So Gaby was talking to the local chief of the Marxist-Leninist organizations, and he was having a big prologue about the advantages of that, and I think she got really bored. And she turned around and she said, "Do you like to dance?" So we just danced, and we danced quite a long time. And they couldn't throw us out. So that's how it all started. The next couple of days later, I picked up Gaby, and I had at this stage a very old camper van, VW, which was really not really road legal. And I drove down the hill with Gaby, and it was really our first sort of meeting then after that. And the lights were red. And she looked at me, "Harold, why are you not braking?" And I said to her, I can't, no brakes. She looked at me with this view, sort of, oh God. And I said, what do I do now? And I said to her, I don't believe in brakes. And she had even weirder looked. I said, no, I have really done it, you know, and that's the end of it. But it wasn't. I could fix a date for next Saturday, and I worked with my dad on the brakes of the VW, right, all day long. And we had a date at 8. And it became 7, it became 8, it became 9. I thought, again, there's no way that she will wait for me now, you know. So I went to the pub, and there she was, waiting 2 hours. And I thought, oh, there must be something serious there, you know. And I felt at the stage that I want to spend the rest of my life with her. From there on, we moved on. And changed houses and went into the Schwersweg, where we had a beautiful time. And we went to Crete. This was our first holiday, with some other friends in some tents. We were sleeping out in the open, and we got drenched by rain. We were all totally wet, and we needed something to dry up. So just around the corner, there was an old monastery, very old monastery, dedicated to John the Baptist. And it was all ruins, but there was one room which was dry. We could dry out, and for a few days we sat in the old bath, which was really purifying. We felt like completely innocent, sleeping in our sleeping beds in this room. One morning, we're just waking up, door opened, and there was a busload of tourists, 30, always the cameras ready, going click, 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 click. Gaby stood up and she went sort of traditionally just for the clothing, which was drying, because she wanted to do something. And this German lady said to her, "Good on you, at least doing the washing." Yes, it was a beautiful time. We drove as much as we could through Europe, later with Sasha. And in 1983, we left Germany. We went to Nepal, India, which was our dream. Alex said before, Gaby had this dream for a long time. And she told me, I have been there. So we arrived in Kathmandu, and that was in December '83, and went to France and spent New Year's with them, and there we met the astrologer, the king of Nepal. Gaby said, I want to do my astrology, because everyone said he is the coolest guy on this planet, he can predict everything. So Gaby went there and got a horoscope done, and the horoscope said, at 57, the line stopped. So Gaby always said, I will die at 57. She always said that to me. I sort of really said, we can work on that, you know. So the next time, the next moment, we went for the Tibetan New Year to Pokhara, to the refugee camp in Pokhara. And as it is with Tibetan New Year, there's a lot of chang. And I drank too much chang. I was not used to it. So at 8 o'clock, I was completely gone. I didn't realize anything anymore. But Gaby was still standing, and she was playing all night Tibetan roaming with all the Tibetans. And I remember the next day, we were riding the horses, and it felt really heartfelt. From there, we went throughout the Himalayas. We did many treks and slept in caves and had wonderful opportunities to connect to it. And we always felt, being so high up in the mountain, that down there, there's just movies playing. This is the real life. The real life with no movie. It was so clear. And we had this one cave where we always said we would go back to when we were 60, when we are going about to die. Now we had to make this cake here, in her beloved peasants. We went then from the Himalayas, which really Gaby loved, to India. And I remember one incident. Gaby was training, speaking Nepali. And she knew a few words, and we went to a restaurant, and she said to the restaurant owner, Kukur komazo sa. And he looked at her, he looked at his dog, he looked at Gaby again. And he said, Kukur komazo sa. What we found out later, Gaby had mixed up the words. Instead of chicken, she had ordered dog. So the restaurant owner was really concerned and thinking, these Western people, what they come up with next? You know? Yeah, we really loved the Malayan. Gaby's wish was, when we left this, she always wanted to return to work as a nurse in Nepal or in India. But it was to come a different way. We left and we went through Burma, up the Irrawaddy, you know, and lots of mistakes. I remember there were some monks on the boat going up, and it must have been a special day for offerings to the monks. But we didn't know that. So all the monks asking Gaby something, and Gaby thought, they wanted to know the way to the toilet. So she told always the way to the toilet. Later we found out it was a special day. But we were just stupid, we just didn't know all the rules. From Burma we went to Thailand, then we lived here in Australia. And we went all around. We shared this beautiful moments in this empty outback for months on end, making our jewelry, you know, sitting. There was no one around. And at one incident, we were just making some sticks, some earrings. And again, a whole busload of tourists stopped in the middle of nowhere, and they bought our stuff. Gaby worked in Sydney also at Gordon & Gotch, which was a magazine distributor. And she said, look, we didn't speak any proper English at that stage, and Australian accent is very hard to understand. So all her co-workers were talking to her, but Gaby didn't understand, so she smiled. She just smiled. It took her 3 months, she said, and then she asked actually someone what the person said. And it was something very degrading to women. She stopped smiling after that. In 1985, we arrived in New Zealand. We were thinking just on our way through. And I remember Gaby coming from the airport and going to the city, and she was asleep. And we arrived at the city center, and she woke up and she said to me, I missed it. I missed Auckland. How could I sleep? And I said, I'm sure we will have an opportunity to get to know Auckland. I think we got to know it very well in the last 30 years. From there on, first of all, we couldn't really stay. We had a really big problem with immigration. And some of you here, they know that, you know, we spent 2 years fighting, and we were twice asked to leave the country, and Gaby was, I don't want to leave New Zealand, I don't want to go anywhere else. This was really her home, New Zealand. She had made already a home up here. So, eventually, with hard perseverance, we got our immigration, we celebrated, and got married. In 1991, Tim was born, and we all went to the hospital together. And again, Gaby and I were dancing when she was in labor. Somehow it's sort of lines throughout our lives. The situations we were always dancing, which were difficult. And then Gaby had to get an epidural. And I remember the doctors even saying, they are dancing, they are dancing. And there was Tim. Nicholas was born in 1995. Shortly after Tim's birth, Dorothy came to New Zealand. There was never any hesitation. It was always for us. Enrichment, we were always part, always. And everything we did together. In 1995, Nicholas was born. And Gaby and I, we did the awful mistake. We went just before the contractions became bigger. We went for an Indian restaurant. You shouldn't do that. Not recommended. So